Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch or listen to this. And it is me, Omar, again with another podcast. Jackson is we're waiting for our awards podcast, so that'll come later this week. But I have another guest for the week, and I think for the first time in our podcast history, we have an athletic director joining us. We have Tim. I should have asked beforehand, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Sale or
It's actually Seil. So Tim
Tim
Seil.
Seil? Okay, we have Tim Seil, the athletic director for Hilbert College in I think it's Hills. I forget. Is it Hillsburg, New York?
Hamburg, New York. So
Hamburg,
just
New York. Sorry.
just south of Buffalo. So we obviously had a big Bills win yesterday. So the crowd or the town is buzzing around here. So we're located probably about 5 minutes from the Bills stadium.
Wow, that's crazy. I guess that'll feed into one of my questions later on, for sure. But I mean, and I guess if this seems random, I'll explain a little bit. Having the athletic director of a Division III school in New York on this podcast, but during my lunch break, was doing some snooping for stories. As you know, I do some writing, and I found out about Hilbert College's unique schedule and their unique plight as an independent in their first year of football in Division III, and they have a unique schedule to say the least. They play Willamette, they play Lincoln University in Oakland, a team that's just traveling all over the place and playing big programs, trying to build their name, as well as some very traditional names in Division III. Which, if you're not familiar with Division III football on the podcast, like that's totally fine. But schools like Denison, Wooster, and Wittenberg, just huge names. And I just wanted to talk to Mr. Seil about his schedule, or talk before I talk to Tim about his about his schedule, about building the schedule, and especially like I guess starting off with like the Lincoln game. So I guess before we start, Tim, is there anything you want to share about the Hilbert College program or the Hilbert College athletics?
Yeah, so we're as you mentioned, a small Division III institution located just south of Buffalo in Hamburg, New York. Obviously, athletics have played a big role in what we kind of see the future of Hilbert College looking like. We've actually added three athletic programs, including football, for this academic year. So we've added football, women's hockey, which had their first practice this morning. We've also added track and field, indoor and outdoor. So really excited about that, helping what the future of our program looks like in getting the football program in particular off the ground. A lot of work, but very rewarding. And I have to really thank our coaching staff and the entire campus community for being able to do that. Our head coach, Jim Kubiak, has a pretty strong college football background himself and did a really good job building our program. And we've seen some steady improvement throughout the course of the year and look forward to more as the season continues to progress.
Absolutely. I mean, for those of you that watch the podcast, me being an Army guy, Coach Kubiak is a Navy football legend. Believe it or not, Navy ran a passing offense in the '90s and used to light up the scoreboard. And he played arena football as well, which, of course, I'm a card collector too. If you watch the podcast, and sitting on my table is a deck of, I think, 2004, 2005 arena football cards, and Coach Kubiak is in that deck.
Oh,
So
all
it's funny
right.
how things work out.
You might have to after this, Omar. You might have to send me a picture over of that because that could get some traction. So shoot me a text after this with that picture, and maybe we'll send it out.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I'll send you that pic. But yeah, I guess we'll kick off this interview with the questions that I have. So the first thing I noticed with the schedule is so on the podcast we cover mostly FBS and FCS football, and I've noticed that Lincoln University in California has played a lot of FCS schools with mixed results, to say the least. But I also noticed on their schedule too is a game against your college. And for those of you that aren't keeping track, Lincoln University is all the way in Oakland, California. And this week they're traveling to play Hilbert College in upstate New York. I mean, as you mentioned. And so when did conversations with the school with Lincoln begin for scheduling this game?
So we added football back in November, and obviously that's a quick turnaround to be able to add football, put together a schedule for the 2022 season. So I actually started at Hilbert in late December, early January, right around the first of the year. And I was fortunate enough when I came in, we had a director of enrollment management, or a vice president of enrollment management, that really took a liking to football. And he did a really good job in terms of connecting and networking with a number of coaches and athletic directors throughout the country to put together a schedule. So when I started, probably about 90% of the schedule was completed in January, which was really fortunate for someone like me when coming in. being a first-year athletic director. So I just kind of had to put the pieces together to fill in some open dates and different things like that. But the Lincoln game was already on there at that point in time. So I'm sure you're probably familiar with d3football.com. They do have some postings on there of weeks that are open for different institutions throughout the country. And we posted on there that we were looking for games. So Lincoln actually reached out and contacted us. We went back and forth with them a number of different times about a date that could work on both ends. And we ultimately settled on this date. Now, one of the things that we had to be cognizant of is when are they coming in and when are they flying out? So that was part of the thing that we looked at in terms of determining a date. Obviously, most of the NCAA college football games are played on Saturdays, but as you probably noticed on the schedule, we're actually playing this one on a Friday. A lot of that had to do with when Lincoln could come into town and different things like that. So really being able to work through that. And I know they're an independent schedule. And as you mentioned, they've kind of played all over the country. And we're just kind of another stop on their roadmap, I guess you could say, throughout the course of the 2020 season. And we're excited to have them come. I think whenever I talk to people about our schedule and they look at, you mentioned Willamette before from Oregon, or Willamette is actually how you say it, from Oregon. And then same thing with Lincoln coming across here. Really, really exciting to have those institutions come all the way on to Buffalo. And a lot of people ask, oh, you had a team come all the way from Oregon, you have a team come all the way from California. And I think it just shows kind of the scope of our program and maybe exposes our program in different areas that it wouldn't otherwise be exposed to.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for the Willamette proper pronunciation, because I've never heard their name spoken on any source of media. So that's new for me. But I mean, it's great that the schedule, I mean, we talked before about this. It's great that the schedule is already mostly crafted. And I mean, I of course visit d3football.com. I did not know that athletic directors use that as a tool for building their schedules. So that's very intriguing.
Yeah, one of the things that's really cool is, I mean, football's a little bit different. You really go down the line in terms of scheduling, and a lot of it is based on obviously your conference schedule. But we're an independent school this year, so some of that, as you look for it, is difficult to fill a schedule. We're going to be an independent school next year as well. So I have athletic directors and coaches constantly reaching out to me to try to fill some holes in their schedule for 2023 and then in 2024 as well. So we almost have our entire 2023 schedule already completed. We have actually just a couple open dates on there right now, which I'm going back and forth with a couple different athletic directors to fill. That schedule is going to be a little bit more regionalized this coming year, which I think is good. We're going to be able to play some more New York State schools and some schools in our region. So I think that'll be a little bit better for us just in terms of recruiting and everything like that going forward.
I mean, as we see with conference realignment, regionalization is huge. So I'm glad that Hilbert gets to have a nice regional schedule, even though like a national schedule is unique. And of course, we wouldn't be having this conversation if the schedule it wasn't national. So a follow-up question I have is did Lincoln or Willamette receive a paycheck from you guys to visit Hamburg? Or did you guys cover their travel costs? Because I know, again, like I know the dates were open, but it's a tough deal getting a Division III program all the way across the country to travel to New York.
Yeah, no, they did not. We did not pay anything to them to come out here. I think they were looking for an opportunity to play a different program. They were looking for an opportunity to give their kids something different in terms of travel. As you know, we have one of the wonders of the world in our own backyard, which is about 40 minutes from campus in Niagara Falls. So I do know that Willamette, when they came out here, did go up to Niagara Falls and they made a little bit of a trip out of it. They were actually able to practice at St. Francis High School, where we play our home games the day before. So it was really good in terms of them coming out. They were great, really easy to work with and everything like that. But no, we didn't give them any guarantee to come out here. So we're obviously really appreciative that they came all the way across the country to play us, and it was a good matchup. We enjoyed playing them.
It's always funny because those of you that know me know that I love to travel to games, and I love like the tourist aspect of, college football, especially bowl games. I guess simply put, I guess it felt like a bowl game, for these Willamette fans and these players to go to Niagara Falls. I forgot about Niagara Falls being so close. So it's great they got to experience that, and I hope Lincoln gets to experience the same thing, even though it might be hard on a weekday
Mhm.
to hit up Niagara Falls or fly it and do that. So my next question, I guess we're bringing it closer to the east side of the United States with the rest of your schedule. I noticed a lot of brand names in Division III, if you will. It's hard to say that, I guess, for the casual college football fan. D3 and brand name seems like a oxymoron, but for college football nerds like me, Denison, Wooster, and Wittenberg on your schedule. I know Denison and Wooster have played. They've played Ohio State on a few occasions, and a couple of I believe they played a couple of the teams in the MAC too. So I guess to go with this question, was the tradition and history of these programs a huge factor for scheduling them? If you can answer that, or
Yeah, no, one of the things there, if you actually look at it, so last year in the North Coast Conference, which those schools that you referenced, that's the conference they're in, they lost an institution this going into 2022. So Allegheny left and they went over to the Pac. So that left a hole in all those team schedules. So that left a hole in those schools that you just mentioned before, Wittenberg, Denison, and left a hole in their schedule. So with that, we were able to, as we mentioned before, put on D3football.com that we're looking for games that weekend, and they reached out. And then I think it kind of snowballed from there in terms of the fact that, hey, just an FYI, this team's still looking for a game. And I talked to their coach the other day. This team's still looking for a game. We talked to their coach the other day, just because they're all so familiar with each other in terms of being in the same situation with Allegheny leaving the North Coast for the Pac. So that's kind of how that formalized and materialized. So obviously really fortunate to be able to get those teams on our schedule. As you mentioned, a rich tradition. Obviously our first home game being against Denison didn't go exactly the way we wanted it to go on the field, but overall a good experience. Another quality program. Their coaches came in. They were very good. Just having some conversations with them. They also were able to make a little bit of a trip out. They practiced at Highmark Stadium, which is where the Bills play. They practiced there on the Friday before they played us. So just kind of a cool little thing in the schedule and being able to play them. And obviously we're going down to Wooster and Wittenberg here coming up. So looking forward to playing those schools as well.
absolutely. I mean, and I'm glad they got to practice at the. I guess like the benefits of being in like close to a big city are very clear and evident. So I'm glad they got to practice it there. My next question following that up is for the first ever game in Hilbert football history. I know you mentioned you played at St. Francis High School. Considering the rich history of a school like Denison, did you ever consider playing the game at a local neutral site if there are any, in the Hilbert area? I know you mentioned Highmark Stadium, which might be, a little bit too big. I guess huge ambitions and costs as well for renting the venue. But I mean, I know Rochester's about an hour away. They've played football at a Frontier Field before. So was that ever in the conversation?
No, it wasn't. I think one of the things we really wanted to do for that is we wanted to make it feel as much like a home game as possible. So we were fortunate enough. We had great community support that day, great campus community support that day. Many students, faculty, and staff came out to that game. So I think moving it to a venue like Rochester would have been difficult for our campus community to be able to travel to that game. St. Francis High School is really only about 5 minutes from our campus, so it worked out really well. And it's a beautiful facility they have. They have a really nice locker rooms. They have really nice spectator seating and everything like that. It's really a nice facility and really looks a lot like a college venue. So that was good for us, but we would definitely be open in the future to going to different locations. And again, as we can become more of an established program and try to get our name out there as much as possible, I think it's important for us to consider those options, right? Playing at a neutral site. We're in the process right now where we're very hopeful to break ground on a campus facility, a campus stadium here in the next few months. So we're just securing some different funding and some different things like that. So once that happens, we want to be hosting games on our campus, but also open to what those other options would look like within our region. Frontier Field, as you mentioned, I know I'm not even sure if this is the name of it anymore, but where the soccer stadium that's in Rochester, I think it used to be called Paytech Park. They host high school football games there. Would definitely be open to that maybe in the future as well. And in some of the other options in Buffalo, I know playing on the University of Buffalo's campus at their stadium could be an option down the road. So definitely open to different things like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, wow, what a great turnaround. What a quick turnaround to have a stadium built on campus. And I know just asking the neutral site question, I mean, a lot of college football fans hate neutral site games, but there's a couple perspectives to it, just I mean, earlier this morning, I interviewed the stadium manager for War Memorial Stadium out in Little Rock, and just giving those players like a special experience in a great venue. So, just wanted to ask that question. And so my last question in regards to, I guess, your future schedules
Mhm.
is, do you plan on scheduling any other tradition-rich programs in the region? I know you mentioned that, I guess it was out of necessity rather than tradition for scheduling the trio of Ohio schools. But I mean, just looking at the region, D3, the Division III football programs in the region, out in the President's Athletic Conference, you have like a school like Washington and Jefferson, who played in the 1922 Rose Bowl, which would be something cool for fans of the program to say they played a program that's played in the Rose Bowl. So, are there any plans to play like tradition rich programs in the future? I guess with like next year's independent schedule.
So yeah, for sure. I mean, we're really excited about our future schedule. And one of the things that I would mention, obviously next year we're going to be independent again. But beyond that, we're looking to, well, we will be joining the Empire 8 in the 2024 season. So excited about that, which will kind of fill our schedule, where we'll only be looking for a couple non-conference games a year, which I think will be more helpful in terms of workload and scheduling and contacting different people. But at the same time, next year, we're actually we're in talks right now to potentially play Union. So that's another school that I feel as though it's tradition rich history. St. John Fisher has had some good teams in the 2000s as well that they'll be on the schedule. I know Brockport will obviously be on the schedule at some point too. Alfred and Alfred State will both be on the schedule at some point in the future. So those are good. And I know those might not be the tradition rich schools that we're playing this year, but always open to playing different teams, different schools and stuff like that. And maybe even traveling and giving our kids the opportunity that those two schools that we mentioned at the beginning, Willamette and Lincoln, have this year to go to a different location, to travel maybe for a multiple day trip, because that's something that's a unique student athlete experience, which is what we're trying to give our student athletes and our football student athletes here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's great that, like traveling out and I mean, going to different places around the country. Again, the student athlete experience, like you said, Union for sure. That's a program that I overlooked. I know they have the rivalry with I think Rensselaer, or
Mhm.
it's a historic rivalry. But again, I guess that just reiterates a point for those of you that usually listen to this podcast and aren't really aware of Division III football. I mean, there's so many tradition-rich programs, and I'm glad that Hilbert College gets to face, a good amount of these schools, especially joining the Empire 8.
For sure. No, we're really excited about the Empire 8. It aligns on that kind of I-90 corridor within New York State that we really want to focus not only on recruiting on, but also try to get our brand out there as much as possible. So I think being associated with the Empire 8, a really good conference, a lot of good teams within that league. We're excited to be a part of that kind of long term in the 2024 academic year for football.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Hilbert too. I know they'll be on my radar. And I guess one more question that sort of came up on my radar, of course, like, just given my background, has the Coast Guard Academy have you guys been in talks with the Coast Guard Academy, or are they or the Merchant Marine Academy, or are they a tough scheduling option? Because obviously, like, I mean, it'll be cool, I guess, to have your student athletes visit the Coast Guard Academy or the Merchant Marine Academy. So I would think maybe it's hard to schedule them, but
Yeah, no, we would definitely be in one thing that I know you and I were talking about before the podcast a little bit was our coach, Coach Kubiak. I think that he's obviously a Navy vet, and that's something I know he kind of centers his program around, right? Is those ideals. We have not had conversations with any of those institutions, but definitely would be open to that, and I could see Coach Kubiak jumping all over that based on his background in particular.
that sounds like a write up for an article for me to write up later this afternoon. So I mean, I appreciate the idea and the connections. Tim, this has been great. I know it's been short. We kind of like burned through these questions, but I really appreciate hearing the insight of athletic director, and especially in a tough position of start, or I guess being the first year of a football program, and even it's hard to shape an independent schedule with years of experience as a program. But I just can't imagine like the struggles of like the first year and like building the second year schedule.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been rewarding because I've made a lot of good connections, and it's funny. A couple weeks ago, I looked at our schedule for 2023 and saw some things on there, and I was like, oh, we got some real gaps in the schedule. And then I was like, why don't I try this? Why don't I try that? And it's almost like putting a puzzle together is how I would look at it. And I enjoy that. So I thought it was really cool to figure out, hey, what team can we play here? What team can we play there? And then the one good insight that I had was going back and forth with a couple conference commissioners, and they were gracious enough to share their schedule with me. So their conference schedule. So obviously in there, it shows where the buys are, right, for some of their institutions. So I was able to reach out to those institutions directly and say, hey, I know you have a buy X week. I'd really like to see if we could work something out. So that was extremely helpful. And like I said, I probably have about 90% of the 2023 schedule completed, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I'll be awaiting the schedule announcement. I have not yet followed Hilbert's football Twitter page or the Hilbert Athletics page, but I will be doing that once we hop off this because now I'm excited and I'm invested.
Yeah, we gotta get you to follow those, and maybe we can even send you a Hilbert T-shirt or something like that. So on your next podcast or your next Zoom, you can be wearing not a Northeastern shirt, but you can be wearing a Hilbert football shirt.
Yeah, I kind of just picked this one out of the closet. I mean, local thrift stores they have a surprising amount of Northeastern schools. I mean, being here in El Paso, I know I've mentioned on my Twitter page before, so I got this one for like $2, and I was like, but I
Well,
will definitely rep Hilbert on
next
the
time you're
podcast.
scouring through your closet, the goal is to have you pick out a Hilbert football T-shirt as opposed to a Northeastern shirt. That's what we're trying to get at, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, I will gladly take a Hilbert t-shirt. So I mean, I know I have your number. I'll text you. I'll text you the shipping details, and
There
I'll
we
rep
go.
that thing more than on the podcast. I'll rep that on a night out,
All
and
right, love it,
get the word out. Get the word out here in El Paso, or get some
love it.
Hilbert fans hopefully. But
It's great.
this has been great, Tim. I really appreciate the interview, and hopefully this isn't the last time that we talk. I mean, I guess maybe next year you can talk about next year's schedule, I guess, when it hits. But yeah, thank you again. Tim, do you have anything final to add before we close out?
No, just again, really, really excited about having a football program on our campus. The energy that it brings to our campus community has been outstanding. So really excited as we kind of move forward here, and I really appreciate your time because I know as you and I were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, D3 football is obviously undercovered when you look at some of the other stuff that's out there in the NFL and high major college football. So really, really appreciate all you're doing to kind of shed some light on us and get our message out there as much as possible. So thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. It's a labor of love. I mean, like I'm only using that because it's a term. It's not even a labor. It's just love. But appreciate again. Sound like broker. I appreciate you coming on, Tim. And until next time, everyone. Peace, love, and soul. And have a great night. Have a great day.